really believe Faith Group has the right experience and personnel to deliver a quality IT strategic plan relevant to Laketran. And so our recommendation is to approve a contract with them for a price not to exceed $78,540. Anybody has any questions or anything?
Yes. First of all, you indicated that the board asked to get an IT strategic plan done. I don't know anybody on the board that asked for this. Secondly, the IT that Laketran has now is $400,000 to $500,000 cost. There's nothing in those costs that can be changed according to what I've talked to you about, Ben, and there's nothing wrong that I know of with our IT system. We have a qualified company that's been working with us for the last, 12 years or whatever it is, maybe longer. Cornerstone, they seem to be doing a much better job now, according to Tony. I don't know why anybody on this board would approve $78,540 for an IT strategic plan study that's not even needed. This is a ridiculous amount of money to pay for something that this organization does not need.
Ben, what was the deliverable again? What exactly are they going to provide Laketran if we hire them?
So their main objective is to review essentially how we do IT today, a combination of how we staff it, how we manage it, the software systems we use, and review those in comparison with other folks and sort of provide us guidance as to, are we doing it correctly? Could we improve? Are there areas where we could be more efficient? And generally give us sort of a external audit or review of how we are managing our IT program with some recommendations as to, hey, this area here, you might be wasting money, or this area here, you're weak in, those kind of things, kind of compile that in a final report and give us an IT direction for the next 5 years with some sort of, this is how we think technology is going to change and areas you need to be prepared for and things you should look at, expenses that may be coming or things like that that are going to happen in the future.
What led to, I guess the quick summary, what led to this, you thinking, what led to this becoming a topic, or what made you think it was necessary?
Sure. So we are, compared to our peers, sort of, we are understaffed and under-resourced for an agency our size. I brought a motion to the board in February to hire another IT person and cut a finance person to make it pretty much budget neutral. The board at the time said, we're not sure where IT is going. We need more information. Help us out. We really think a plan is appropriate before we consider committing additional staffing resources to it. So we began work on the RFP process and kind of put together a scope of work that we thought was appropriate. I shared that with the board. And then we put it out to RFP or out to bid to get the vendors, and that's sort of where we are today. So it's generally the way I felt was the board said, hey, look, it's not that we don't think we might need IT resources, but we don't know. And we'd like someone with some outside experience to tell us how we're doing, review it, and tell us if this is the right thing or the wrong thing. And so that's sort of how we got to where we are today.
So another employee was never hired.
Correct.
So we have one person?
Yes.
Internally?
And access to a company that can give us more help if we need it, which is the whole idea. Most companies that have the size of the organization we have here have either a single IT person, which many times is just the chief accountant, and then an outside firm that comes in and helps them out with their IT. IT right now in this, in its current state is not as complicated as it used to be. It's a much more mature industry. Things are just work. The hardware doesn't fail. The software, if it does fail, we're paying almost $500,000 a year for software support, which is licensing and things like that. So you go to your vendor, who is the one that has to fix whatever's wrong. It doesn't require an IT strategic plan to figure this out. It's pretty simple anymore. And it's easy to do if that's what they make phones for. You call your vendor. I mean, I just don't see, there's nothing that would be accomplished by a strategic plan. I don't know of anybody in the industry that knows what's going to happen in the next 5 years. They can't make the hardware much faster. They're coming up limiting to the size of the processors that they can make, how fast they can make them. It's just it's a mature industry. There's nothing that a $78,540 study is going to show you that they're not doing now. They've done a pretty good job, Ben. I've got to say that you've got the thing pretty well on target for what you need to do. I mean, this is a transit facility. It's not an R&D facility where you do need a lot of extra IT stuff. I mean, the people that we buy the software from, it's all old stuff. I mean, it's been out there for years. So I don't know what anybody's going to come in and say, other than see if you can squeeze the vendors a little harder. I can tell you that right now, and that won't cost you anything. And that's only based on 50 years of experience. So, you know, if you can believe me now or don't believe me, I don't really care if it comes to that.
Well, with respect, I would disagree, and I would say that every job nowadays is getting to be increasingly data-driven and technology-driven. And I would assume that if the transit industry is no less, and I think the transit industry is probably even more because they keep a lot of information and about customers, and they have a lot of technology needs. So I think that to say I can see that it would be an ongoing issue, or, you know, there may be new opportunities that we could take advantage of that would only increase our ability to do the Ben and his staff's ability to do their job more effectively.
Do you know what they are?
No, but I think that's the point of having the plan.
Well, I'm telling you, there's nothing really new.
Okay. Why were you thinking of hiring another IT person? What was the perceived need, and how do you think that person could help the organization, and why haven't you hired the person? Besides, I'm guessing it's just the board didn't want to change the position at the time, but do you think that, I guess, what need did you think we had for another IT person?
Sure. So we, I don't recall the exact numbers off the top of my head, but we put together a pie chart kind of showing what Tony's existing time was spent doing. Tony's the director of IT. He was spending, Tony, help me out a little bit. It was around 60% of his time, I think, doing sort of lower level fixes. You know, employees would have problems. He would have to go fix them. What's the term? Help me out here. Yeah, like help desk type of work. Now, Cornerstone is here to help us do that. Unfortunately, a lot of the way Trapeze and some of our technology works is it's on-site work that has to be done. So the employees get Tony, they get him his help. Tony was not, and still does not have enough time to think about IT a little bit more strategically, plan our sort of security a little better, and complete projects that move the agency forward. It's very much, you know, sometimes I call Tony a firefighter because a lot of his time is spent putting out fires versus, you know, moving the department forward. And so, you know, Tony is right and Lane is right about Cornerstone and the quality of work we get from them. It has improved. And I did have a conversation. I went to lunch with Ray Paganini and talked about, you know, I said, hey, you know, this is where we're at. What do you think would be the best thing for us to do going forward? Should I pay you more to do more work for Laketran to help us out more? And he looked at me, at yours truly, and said, you would be foolish to pay me more money. You should hire an employee because you'll be able to do it cheaper than I'll be able to provide you one. And so that was what I originally brought to the board to do, which was to hire an employee. And it really is a person to do lower level help support type of things, and allow Tony to focus more on the bigger picture things in the department. A lot of the stuff that Tony also has to do is not typical IT work. It's on a bus. And so Tony always tells me, we don't have one server room, we have 150 because every bus has multiple computers on it and a bunch of hardware that has to be supported that requires a person on site. And now we could get that from Cornerstone and not hire an employee ourselves. We could also hire an employee ourselves. There's merits to both. After talking to Ray and some internal discussion, we thought the most cost-effective way to do that was to hire an employee internally. And so then we brought that to the board. And the board said, we think that there should be some planning ahead before we do that. So that's kind of how we got there. So we are underwater, if you will, trying to keep up with our IT needs.
Wasn't the employee that was brought though, kind of the thought, didn't that person to do the help desk style work, wasn't that salary number brought to us at like 70 something thousand? It was like a really high number. I feel like from that point, we were like, well, time out. That's a really like high number for
Still in a
someone
meeting.
doing that kind of work. So I kind of feel like there was maybe like a disconnect of confusion of where we said, hey, that's a lot of money for kind of someone right out of college type of thing. Are there any other dollars and cents that we could understand for a help person that, because you put 70 something $1,000 for a entry level person to come into the field and then add their benefits and all that other stuff, you're looking at over now $100 something thousand
for
college grad.
We did raise the salary a little bit from entry level to try and get a person that would stick around longer. We could go back and adjust that number if we wanted to. I don't know. We'd have to do some kind of, I don't know, honestly, where the IT market is right now, where that position would fall, but we could certainly, if the board says, hey, we're not interested in a plan, we go back to a position, I'm trying to do my best to be reactive to the board's needs of understanding what our IT needs are also. But I'd be happy to, take a look at that again also.
It sounds like we just need another employee and maybe, I don't know, maybe we table this and just have discussions about hiring someone in. I mean, it sounds like everyone is kind of in agreement that we need someone else. So maybe that's what we do instead.
Mr. Chairman, we've been round and round about this. I think this is an outstanding path to take that will help us decide what exactly we need. And as Ms. Stenger has pointed out, and it's true, more and more the world is going digital. Laketran's at a bit of a crossroads here as we move forward with our latest levy. And I think this remains a good idea to continue to go forward with this, to get a bird's eye view from professionals. We have an opportunity to get someone with transit experience to review this. And I think that this is going to be money well spent going forward.
I would like to fully understand if we do table to understand what would a new entry level person kind of cost from, someone who who wants to get their feet wet in this industry. What does that salary look like? What, like that would be able to take the 60% off of Tony to do the help desk type work, and then for him to be refocused on those IT projects that you've wanted him to get to over the last 2-3 years, however long it's been. I think that helps redirect his focus and helps put out the fires, as you said here as well. But I'm surely not going to, again, $70 something thousand for a beginner person. Look at that. So
Okay.
that's my 2 cents.
I'm curious what Tony thinks. What do you think, that we need the strategic plan, or do we think we just need an employee to help you? What do you think we need to do?
So I had this conversation with Ben, and what I was looking for out of the strategic plan is basically a cross-check of some of the things I'm thinking about and what would be the best way to implement them. I mean, a couple of the big things, cybersecurity. what's the best plan? How do I want to implement it? How much do I want? Is there, what's the feasible cap for, small organizations are now a target. Geneva got hacked and they got held to ransomware. So it's not a matter of if, it's when. There's a 30,000 gallon propane tank sitting out back over there. If that goes, this building is gone. So one of the other things is I want to put together a proposal for a warm site, like at the transit centers that we just built, have an extension of our computer network over there so that we can put somebody from customer service, because hopefully it happens at night and the people are still alive. And we have some place to run buses out of. The other thing is it's like disaster recovery. I want to take that and bring it back in-house because I think that we can do a better job with that when you have a vested interest in what Laketran is rather than depending on an MSP to do it for you. So I know what I want. I have these transit centers I can store data at. I want to make sure our data is safe. I don't want to be held to a ransomware attack. These are things that I think are important to me and important to Laketran.
So there's more, your problems aren't going to be solved just by hiring an employee. So we could hire an employee. Would that free you up to be able to make these decisions yourself? Or is that the problem? Or do we need a consultant to help you make those decisions anyway?
So my initial response is going to be yes. So it's like to free up the time to do this on my own. Yes, I could do it. Do I still want a sanity check on what I'm doing is the best thing for the organization? I'd also like to have that because some of these are big decisions to make. And I want to make sure these are solid decisions that ensure the integrity and safety of Laketran and our customer data.
So we've talked off and on about an overall strategic plan. I'm a little disjointed in terms of where we're at on that, but where would that interface with this? Or would it interface with this?
I don't think there'd be much crossover between the two. The strategic plan will be a much more high level, very board focused, board intensive thing to talk about. What are the agency's goals? Where are we going in the future? What do we want Laketran to be for the next 8 years? This is going to be more technical of where do we want to be for 5 years, but it's going to be on things that most of us don't live our lives in about, how to secure the data properly and some of those nitty gritty details. So I don't think there's, and Tony, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think there's going to be a lot of kind of parallel track between the two other than, they're both strategic plans.
It's very necessary that we have one solely focused on IT for the reasons Tony just stated. We carry a lot of vulnerable passengers. If our dial-a-ride systems were attacked, there would be people who could not get anywhere. We can't allow this to happen. And I would like to remind the board that last month, we voted not to kill the IT strategic plan. I don't think we should go back and have to do this vote again. Let's just move forward and do the best we can for this organization and for our passengers.
I'm still trying to understand exactly what does the IT department, when you say IT, do you mean one, servicing the staff, your computers, your software, the CSR, the software that they use, all of those things? And then two, on top of that, does that also include servicing and working with the rangers and the things that are in the buses so that the drivers are able to see the pickups on the dial ride buses or GPS or there is all of that under the umbrella of IT?
Generally, yes. There are some, the only thing, there are some limited exceptions where maintenance could get involved. If it's a more simple problem like power and ground and stuff like that, maintenance would take care of. But programming, updating, and generally maintaining falls under the IT department.
We have never at Laketran, we've never at Laketran really looked at this as a whole. As we've needed things, we've gone out in the industry and gotten what we needed at the time. And the question is, where are we going from here? And are we safe? This will help answer those questions.
Are there any other questions or comments for Ben and or Tony?
Mr. Chairman,
Just
just make one comment here myself. As someone else earlier said, we've been talking about this for a while. Strategic plan, IT strategic plan, it's been going back and forth. Everybody seems to want to have a plan to do something to go forward with. Here, there's been one plan to try to drive for the overall operation. That one got thrown out also. We got now, then we came back and said, well, let's do a strategic plan. Again, if we throw these strategic plans out, where are we going to be at? We're going to be here back next month saying, well, what's the plan? Where are we supposed to go? I think it's very difficult for Ben to try to help guide us in some of the ways that this operation is supposed to be going if we keep saying no to a lot of these strategic planning type things. So I would encourage us to continue on and get this resolved and go forward with the strategic plan, and then also continue the conversation about the hiring of additional people we might need for this. I mean, I think there's some evidence there that the IT department is overloaded and needs some additional personnel to help out and get all these things done. You know, I mean, we got 243 employees, and a lot of them are going to have a computer issue that says it's frozen. How do I get it unfrozen? I mean, those are the things that I think Tony deals with a lot on the day-to-day basis.
Mr.
My
Swanson?
thoughts.
Yeah. Just one point of clarification. I think there's been some hyperbole about how unsafe our system is. I had lunch with Ray Paganini also. I've known Ray for 25 years. He is not concerned about the safety of our existing system. We don't have a crisis facing us in terms of safety right now. Doesn't mean that we shouldn't be thinking about the future at all. That's not what I'm saying. I don't think that that is a primary concern in this discussion.
No, I don't think we're in security crisis either. I think our concern is about what is the future way to keep that from being a concern. If that
Ms.
came across
Giesman?
that way, sorry.
Yeah, it just, at first, it sounded like the issue was just manpower, that Tony needed more time and if that could easily be solved. And when we needed the strategic plan to determine whether to hire someone to do help desk type tasks. But it does sound like there's more to it than that. I think that, $78,000 is a lot of money, but it is less than we would pay an employee for 1 year of salary and benefits. I think that based on what Tony says, and I respect his opinion, he's been here a while and knows what Laketran needs. I trust that. So I think there's more to it than just hiring an employee. So I think it sounds like it's something that we should do.
Any other comments, questions for Ben or Tony?
I'm tired of talking about it, so I don't have any more comments. It sounds like you people know more about this than I ever will, so I guess we'll just ignore the fact. I've offered my help to Ben. He's turned it down. There are things that you're talking about right now that could be simply resolved. I've only done this for 100 companies in the last 50 years. So if you don't want to listen to what I'm trying to help you with, then so be it. You don't need extra employees to do things that you could have some of your users do. That's always been a situation where within a company, you have people that are strategically prepared to help people in the help desk area. And for example, your mechanics could probably do a lot of the work on the buses if there's something to be done. But is there something to be done? I haven't heard anything was broken. Nobody's complaining about the buses not working. Nobody's complaining about their computers aren't working. I don't quite understand what all the rigmarole is about this. I need help, I need help, I need help. Well, do something. I mean, my heavens, you can contact your vendors. I've asked Ben about, you could hire the one we pay multiples of hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to come in and on a periodic basis, which they've done, but make it more periodic and have them tell you what the future is for the things they're working on. You don't need another company to come along and say, and do the same thing you can do yourself. This doesn't make any sense to spend this kind of money on something that is not that difficult to do, in my opinion, and based on my experience. I'm trying to help you people. You don't want my help. I'm sorry.
A board activity. We need experts in here.
Can't hear her.
who- I don't feel that this is a board activity, no matter what. We need someone in here who can look at this at a high level, who works in the industry, who's dealt with transit.
Any other questions or comments? So I am going to read this, see if there is a motion, and then we will go from there. At this time, is there a motion to approve resolution 2022-023, authorizing the CEO or his designee to enter into and execute a contract with Faith Group for development of an information technology strategic plan at a cost not to exceed $78,540?
So moved.
Motion made by Ms. McNamee. Is there a second?
Second,
Seconded by Mr. Zibble. Trudy, if you can please call the roll.
McNamee,
Yes.
Nunley,
No.
Pismo. Yes. Sheets,
No,
Stanger,
Yes,
Swanson,
No.
Zibble,
yes.
Okay, the motion did pass for the IT strategic plan.